Hi, I'm Skryzypczyk.
And I'm Michelle Stewart.
We'll tell you why the first floor of the park library looked more like a wading pool than a place to study.
And Michigan lawmakers attempt to ensure equal treatment for men and women. When News Center continues.
Serving the Mount Pleasant community and Central Michigan University. With Michelle Stewart, Skryzypczyk, Mark Moses with weather, and Sal Giaco with sports. This is News Central.
Earlier today, the first floor of Park Library looked more like a wading pool than a place to study. News Central's Giaco has more on the soggy situation.
At about 11:15 this morning, Park Library became Park Lake.
A good inch of water all over the carpeting where you can see the water stains outlined that was coming out of under the doors from the restrooms. It was just a rapidly expanding pool of water.
Witnesses say the water came up from the drains inside the bathrooms. The flood reportedly started in the front hallway and spread to the carpeted area of the first floor.
Initially, people were just kind of moving out of the way as the pool kept expanding toward them. They kept moving back that direction, and we finally decided it was probably the better idea just to get everybody out and close it down.
Facilities management officials say the water backed up due to a 6-inch water main break and blockage in the main sewer line. Workers are fixing the damaged water main and clearing the blockage. Inside the building, cleanup efforts are underway.
When we get the carpet as dry as we can with the carpet extractors, we'll take and get the humidifiers going, the box fans going, and then we'll spray it with a chemical to stop the biohazard waste that came out of the sewer.
While the first floor is closed, library materials can be checked out at the front hall desk. This carpet is outside drying out like the rest of the first floor Park Library right now. Officials aren't saying when the first floor will be open, but they're hoping sometime soon. Giaco, News Central.
We do have an update on this story. The first floor is now open. A trial date has been set for a man accused in a January 5th drive-by shooting. Following a preliminary exam today in Isabel County District Court, Mark Sprague was charged with an assault intent to commit murder. Sprague also faces charges of possession of a firearm and a weapons felony. In the early morning of January 5th, Sprague allegedly fired a shot that wounded a 19-year-old Gladwin woman. Bridget Evans, a passenger in a car driven by James Foster, was hurt. In a pre-trial testimony, Foster said that he, his sister, and Evans were driving to a Mount Pleasant store to exchange Christmas gifts. Foster claims a car driven by Sprague passed their vehicle 3 times. Foster's sister, Susan, remembers hearing a crashing sound, and James Foster says he wasn't aware a shot had been fired until he noticed Evans was coughing up blood. Sprague's case will be heard in Isabella County Court on February 21st.
Michigan's women state lawmakers have joined hands and entered the reapportionment plan. The lawmakers filed a brief in the Michigan Supreme Court in an attempt to ensure that men and women are treated equally in the reapportionment plan. In the last reapportionment a decade ago, the plan put 56% of women legislators in multi-incumbent districts, while only 9% of the men were placed. The lines of congressional districts are redrawn every 10 years following the census. 5 candidates from Michigan have been nominated for a lifetime position to the federal bench. Isabella County's District Judge Peter O'Connell is one of the candidates. O'Connell is in his 13th year as a district judge in Mount Pleasant and has 5 years left on his term. He said he's thrilled to be one of the 5 nominees, and money isn't an issue for taking the job. O'Connell is a 1971 graduate of Western Michigan University and has a law degree from Detroit College of Law. He is also the only candidate with a Master in Judicial Studies degree, which he obtained in 1987 at the University of Nevada at Reno National Judicial College.
Although 29 CMU students faced a 10-hour bus ride back to Mount Pleasant, their minds were filled with a unique learning experience. The Campaign 92 class, co-taught by the Political Science and Journalism departments, learned about politics at the grassroots level. The caucus was held in Des Moines, Iowa, where the students stayed in the same hotel as Harkin campaign. Jack Kemp, Secretary of the Housing and Urban Development and personal friend of Professor James Wehart, addressed CMU students on national television. According to Del Rehnquist, professor of the class, we were in, quote, treated like VIPs.
Yesterday, legislation passed a bill allowing Michigan lawmakers to get into the weight loss business. Letty Langora talked to a local owner of one weight loss center.
Yesterday, Michigan lawmakers passed a bill requiring weight loss centers to inform their customers that such plans often fail. The bill also would require centers to tell customers of their need for proper dieting and warn them of potential medical risks. News Central talked to Marilyn Tift, owner of the Diet Center in downtown Mount Pleasant, and asked her if this would affect her business.
I don't think it'll affect my business because that's what my business is. I'm a counseling service. We implement exercise. They must change their behavior. And we have a very well-balanced nutritional diet that they go to the store and buy all their 4 food choices, which is vegetables, fruits, protein, and starches. So it shouldn't affect my business any, because this is what I've always did.
Tift favors the bill and said she didn't feel she would lose any customers over it. She also stated that if she were to lose customers over the legislation, her program would be 100% refundable.
Our program is 100% refundable. If it's not a program they feel comfortable with, we don't want them to do it. But it's usually never because of health reasons. It's usually because they couldn't, get organized to get their food prepared, and they just decided that it wasn't the time right now to diet.
The bill that was passed by an 89-17 vote will find weight loss centers having to present their patrons with a choice. How will the customers react to this bill? We'll just have to wait and see. Reporting for News Central, I'm Letty Longoria.
A Japanese television documentary on the U.S. auto industry has American automakers floored. Ford spokesman Jim Vella says the documentary's title alone shied his company away from participating. The film, titled The Rise and Fall of Detroit, will focus on how automakers and workers view relations between the two countries. The producers of the show had hoped to get with all 3 leaders of the big 3 automakers. However, all 3 declined. The film is scheduled to air in Japan March 13th.
AIDS is a scary thought for everyone. Therefore, a bill has been passed by the State House that requires physicians to provide the names of people who test positive for the AIDS virus to local health departments. The bill was passed as an effort to contact patients' partners and to clarify hospitals' obligations to provide confidential information about people who test positive for HIV. The bill was sent to the State Senate, for further review. And up next in world news, a scandal for a British lawyer.
And President Bush doesn't surprise anyone with his announcement that he's running for his candidacy for re-election.
Doesn't scare you, just wait.
The doctor will see you now.
One night a year ago, Vanessa got high with some guy and forgot everything she learned about preventing AIDS. Now her life is the horror show. AIDS. Another way drugs can kill.
employees train with the National Guard and Reserve, they learn to be better team players, better decision makers, and better leaders. It's training that makes them better at serving our country. And better when they come back to work for you.
Bill's back.
Be a hero. Give your employees the freedom to protect ours.
Even though President Bush has already raised millions of dollars for his campaign, as well as travel around the country urging voters to support him, he hadn't officially announced his candidacy until this morning. Today, President Bush told campaign backers at a Washington hotel that he wants to stay in the White House another 4 years. As his campaign officially begins, the House Ways and Means Committee is busy working on his plan for reviving the economy. President Bush has scaled back his demands from last month's budget proposals. Now he's asking lawmakers to pass only 7 parts of his plan by the March 20th deadline, saying the other proposals can wait until later. A study by the Wellesley College Center for Research on Women indicates that although boys and girls may go to the same public schools, they get very different educations. The report says that boys and girls enter public schools with roughly the same ability skills, but after a few years, girls begin to lag behind male classmates, especially in the areas of math, science, and even self-esteem. Dr. Joseph Rivard from CMU's Teacher Education Department says typical stereotypes do tend to encourage boys more than girls. Rivard says students rise to the level of expectation, and elementary teachers that expect boys to do better in math and science encourage them to do better, and therefore the boys will. He says, quote, "In reality, the differences in achievement decline when expectations are evened out," unquote. The American Association of University Women says the report is evidence that girls don't get the same quality or quantity of education that boys do. An FBI agent testifying today in the embezzlement trial of former Detroit Police Chief William Hart says the FBI interviewed hundreds of law enforcement agents, but none of them could back Hart's story of where the department's Secret Service fund money was spent. Federal prosecutors allege that Hart stole nearly $1.3 million from the fund by issuing checks to cash, and another $1.3 million in checks signed by Hart was paid to phony corporations in the 1980s. Hart's defense maintains that much of the money was used to pay informants of an undercover agent working for Hart. Prosecutors, however, say there's no evidence to back up that claim.
In London, a British lawyer says that 2 Libyan men accused of bombing a Pan Am plane are not dead, despite reports to the contrary. Reports yesterday claimed that Libya executed the 2 agents accused of the bombing of the flight in 1988. The British lawyer, Stephen Mitchell, says he visited the men last night in London. Mitchell is advising lawyers for the 2 Libyans on U.S. and British efforts to extradite them from Libya. In a BBC interview, Mitchell says he has no doubt the men he visited last night were the Libyan agents. According to intelligence reports, China has agreed to supply Iran with parts that could be used to develop medium-range ballistic missiles. Sources say China is gathering the parts and getting ready to ship them to Iran. Yet China denies supplying the weapons. Secretary of State James Baker now is considering whether to recommend the President Bush that he lift the sanctions. The Ministry of Trade and Industry of Japan is considering tighter voluntary restrictions on exports to the United States. Leading Japanese newspapers say the agency plans to limit its U.S. exports to 1.7 cars a year. This decrease in auto trade would fall lower than the present 2.3 million Japanese autos that are currently being produced. A decision by the ministry is expected by late this month. But regardless of voluntary restrictions, Japan's auto exports to the United States are expected to fall below the present average for the current fiscal year ending on March 31st. The main factors are the U.S. slumping auto market and Japanese factories in the United States. Japan's 2 biggest automakers, Toyota and Nissan, say that they plan to raise the prices of passenger cars that they sell in the U.S. This move is likely to make U.S. cars more competitive and comes at a time when the Japanese government is pressuring the auto companies to hold down exports. Both Toyota and Nissan deny they're under governmental pressure to raise prices. They say a stronger yen has made it more expensive to sell the cars in the U.S. And a top Russian official says he hopes the U.S. comes through with a more humanitarian aid for the ex-Soviet republics. At a news conference today, the official overseeing aid shipments said the U.S. airlift program is the start of a large-scale assistance. He didn't criticize the amount of aid sent by the U.S., but noted that it was far less than the amount that Europe had shipped.
Cold and wintry out right now, but how long will this Arctic air last? You may need your electric blanket a little while longer. I'll have details of the forecast coming right up.
Compete, you've got to be strong. To win, you've got to be smart. Maybe you can be one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
I'm Tony La Russa, Major League Baseball manager. If you own a pet, you strike a bargain. You get loyalty and trust, a clown when you're sad, and someone to laugh at all your jokes. In return, he needs the basics: food, shelter, love. Love means getting your pet spayed or neutered. Even if we love cats and dogs, there just aren't enough homes for them all. Have your pets spayed or neutered now, because they're counting on us to keep our part of the deal. For more information, contact the Humane Society of the United States, Washington, D.C.
Pete Sampras comes up to serve. Jan Stevenson makes the drive. A.C. Green and Charles Smith pound the boards. Marcus Allen rushes up the middle. Jay Schrader with the touchdown. There are a lot of different parts to play in the American Red Cross. Play your part.
Currently the temperature is 21 degrees, the barometer is 30.50 inches, and the humidity is 37%. The dew point stands at 2 below, and the wind is out of the south at 7 miles per hour, and the sun sets today at 6:05. As we take a look at conditions around the nation, we can see that over in California there's been a lot of rain around in this area. They've been having reports of up to 12 inches of rain. That's not snow, that's inches of rain. And up in the Sierra Nevadas in California, they've had up to 48 inches of snow. This is pretty good, but even though they've had a lot of this rain, we can tell that even though they've had a lot of severe drought, they still need up to 18 inches of rain to end up for that 5 years of drought. And over in Seattle, they've been having a lot of rain too. It's 55 degrees there, 61 in LA, and 60 and also rainy in Las Vegas. Right now it's 53 in Denver and partly sunny, and down in Texas it's 65. They've also been receiving a lot of inches of rain down in there too. Down in Houston they've had a report of 2 inches of rain. Over in Dallas they've had 1 to 2 inches of rain. All within this area. This whole system right down in here has been experiencing a lot of rain, but this will stay to our south. It won't be moving up into our area to affect our weather. Right now it's 67 in New Orleans, and it's 23 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and under mostly cloudy skies it's 27 in Chicago. Over here in the West Coast we can see that it is 25 in Boston and 35 in Washington, D.C. Right down in Florida though, it mainly is just a plain old sunny and 75 degrees. Taking a look at temperatures around the state, we can see that it is a cool, chilly 16 degrees up in Marquette, and it is 18 degrees in Sault Ste. Marie. While over down in Kalamazoo under mostly sunny skies, it's 26, and it's 21 in Traverse City and 20 and sunny in Alpena. Down in Lansing, it's 22 degrees, and over in Detroit, it is 32. But talk about cold. It was very cold out today. Muskegon set an all-time low for 2 below. That tied that record back in 1967. But the Arctic air will be moving out later on, and it shouldn't affect our weather too much. We will be warming up later on. And right now in Mount Pleasant, it is 21 degrees. Let's take a look at the conditions for tonight. We can see that it will be mostly cloudy with a 40% chance of snow at a low of around 13. And tomorrow, mostly cloudy, a high of 33, with still a chance of snow. Looking ahead into Friday, partly sunny, a high of 34 and a low of 17. And as another frontal system moves in on Saturday, there will be a chance of rain or snow with a high of around 38 and a low of around 33.
Well, thanks, Mark. How about that rain in California?
The rain in California has been real bad. We can see that hopefully it won't be moving our way. I don't think it will be.
Well, okay, thanks. Here's Sal with sports.
A wild one in Milwaukee as the Pistons lose their cool and get blown off the court by the Bucks. Details ahead in sports.
There is a mighty spirit shining out.
In Salisbury, Maryland, the hungry are being fed. In Wind Falls, Indiana, a man who learned to read at 47 is making sure others learn earlier. In Hope, New Mexico, people turned an abandoned school into a thriving community center. In Boston, Massachusetts, neighbors set up a crime hotline that's making their streets safer. From Seattle to Galveston, from Buffalo to Fargo, every day, someone in America is doing something to light up another life. But there is so much more to do. The light to do it is within us all. We only need to share it. Contact the Points of Light Foundation. Do something good. Feel something real.
Honey, it's Mom. Please let me in. I'm worried.
Learn to see the signs of mental illness. 2 out of 3 people who get help get better. For a free booklet, call the American Mental Health Fund.
We made it! Hey, I couldn't have gotten through physics without you.
Yeah, well, you're on your own at college.
It's not fair.
That's all right. I'm gonna get a job, you know. I'm gonna start working, I'm gonna save. And I'll be in college in another year or 2.
So, what do you have planned, Mike?
I think I'm gonna go home and make a sandwich. Okay, man.
Support the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
The Central Michigan basketball team needs a win, and they need one badly. They've lost their last 6 in a row, and tonight's game against the Eastern Michigan University might be the perfect time to turn those losing ways around. The Eagles are on a 2-game skid and find themselves dead last in the MAC. Tip-off time is set for 8 p.m. at Rose Arena. In the NBA, the Detroit Pistons started off the second half of the season in angry fashion. Last night's game against the Milwaukee Bucks featured hard fouls, high tempers, and 6 technical fouls, all at the expense of the Pistons. They lose in Milwaukee 104-87. Chuck Daly, not one of his better days, but alone scored 12 and 12 rebounds, but a lot of physical play on both teams. Pistons screaming about the officiating all night, and then things got a little ugly. Technical fouls everywhere, and Daly lost control. 2 techs for him. He was ejected. Woolridge got 1, 6 technicals in all. And the Pistons said, the hell with it, we're out of here, and so did Daly. On the NBA scoreboard, Hakeem Olajuwon scored 40 points and 19 rebounds, but not enough to win. Clyde Drexler had 28 and Terry Porter had 24 as the Blazers won their 13th straight home victory. It was Tim Hardaway and Chris Mullin leading the way with 29 and 33 respectively. Michael Jordan led Chicago with 34 as the Bulls ended a 2-game losing streak. John Stockton made a layup with 1/10 of a second left as the Jazz edged the Cavaliers. Detlef Schrempf was the main man as he hauled down a career-high 23 rebounds and netted 26 points. Terry Teagle led a third-quarter spurt as the Lakers got past the Timberwolves. The Hornets won their third straight behind Kendall Gill's 27 points. The Spurs held off the Celtics to the lowest point total of the season, and the 76ers got 20 points from Hersey Hawkins in the first half as Philadelphia cruised past the Heat. Winning used to come easy to the Detroit Red Wings, especially earlier in the season, but lately the struggling Wings can't get the bouncing puck to go their way. The result, just one win in their last 8 outings. Last night, a 4-3 loss in Toronto, and the problems continue for Detroit. Wings came out strong early. Here they get it to Steve Yzerman all alone with a big blast upstairs. Stevie's 33rd of the year, and the Wings up 3-1. And then a scary moment. Watch as Kevin Miller will try to stuff it past goalie Grant Fuhr. Tangled up between the posts and the defensive player. Fuhr injures his right knee. The play would go on, but he would later be carried off on a stretcher with cartilage damage to his knee. A big blow to the Leafs, but they would come back. Here they tie it late in the third period. And then with 5 seconds left in regulation, Brian Bradley puts home the rebound, and the Wings lose a heartbreaker. In the NHL scoreboard, the Oilers win their first game in 14 games as they blow out the Sabres. It was Pierre Turgeon who led the way with 2 goals as the Islanders skated past the Flames. Ron Wilson scored the winner with 9:49 left in a wild one as the Blues slipped past the Kings. Dale Hunter scored the last 2 goals to seal the victory for the Capitals. And the Oilers made a furious comeback with 3-goal rally. The winner belonged to Antonov Semilov. The last couple of weeks haven't been the easiest of times for Mike Tyson. In fact, in 1 year, the former heavyweight champion went from fame and fortune to failures and felonies. His rape conviction 2 days ago was preceded by his first and only defeat as a boxer 1 year ago to the date. Tyson's troubles have given the sport of boxing another black eye, perhaps one more than they really need. The guilty verdict of rape and sexual deviant conduct issued to Tyson has sparked many opinions about the ex-champ, his life, and his fate.
I hate what you did, but I still love you. There's still a chance for your life.
I don't think it's right for me to fight anybody who've been in charge of guilty of such crime. I feel that, I have respect for the system.
I have absolutely no thoughts about Tyson. He's a common criminal who's getting what he deserves. I have absolutely no thoughts about him.
Ricky Henderson looking for some
He's
steals in Oakland in the
Washed
first
up.
half. Marshall
Deserves to be. Period.
And
He's a
Alexander lays
thug.
it in for Golden.
A thug. Howard Cosell, he's never out of the spotlight, He always has something to say.
Yeah, it doesn't look like February 11th is exactly Tyson's lucky day.
No, he's been through some tough times, and they're not over yet.
No, he's got quite a bit ahead of him still.
Yeah, he does.
Laura?
Most people don't know this, but cows aren't the only animals to produce milk. Sheep can also. Milk is in demand for cheese making. Joel Tescher of Geneva, Idaho, plans to begin milking his sheep next month. This will mark the start of the first sheep dairy farm in the Rocky Mountains. During the first year of the new dairy farm, Tescher plans to milk about 100 sheep. Each one is expected to produce about a quart of milk a day. This will save on importing millions of dollars in sheep milk. Now we'll have a sheep milk operation in the U.S. So how about that, sheep? Cows?
I want to try that sheep milk. I wonder what it tastes like. I wonder if it's like goat's milk.
If it's not goat's milk, I don't know.
I've never had goat's milk. I don't know, but this is very interesting. This would solve a lot of problems for us.
You think so?
I think so.
Sheep milk.
Well, good night. Good night from all of us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.